Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jake Weddle, and it's Pride Month, so you know what that means. Don't be gay! Which is it's the name of Jerrod Carmichael's new comedy special on HBO. Alright, if you've been subscribed to this channel for a long time, then you'd know we did a video on Jerrod Carmichael way back in the day. It was from a series I used to do where we would break down my favorite joke from a certain comedian. If I should bring that series back, let me know in the comments down below. But if you clicked on this video, then you are interested in Jerrod Carmichael's Don't Be Gay. This will also count as my Pride video, so happy Pride, everybody! I'm violently aware that my audience is autistic and queer, and that's awesome. And if you're not, that's okay. Dork. I'm kidding. I, for one, haven't been a member of the Alphabet Mafia for long. I started using they, them pronouns like a month ago. 2 months ago. Shout out to my NBs. Bruh! No, I posted a short about it on my Instagram, so whatever. Follow me on Instagram, I guess. I started identifying as non-binary because being the boyfriend of the bi girl was making the discourse terrible. That's a joke. No, I started identifying as non-binary because alt-right psychos in the comments were like, "You're not a man!" And I'd be like, "Thanks." Again, another joke. No, I started identifying as non-binary because when I was in LA, I dated a they-them, and they said I was not allowed to identify as a lesbian. All right, let's move on. But earnestly, they-thems please, and happy Pride. No, Don't Be Gay is Jerrod Carmichael's fourth full-length comedy special, and when my dad used to yell at my baseball games. Full disclosure, I have not seen Jerrod Carmichael's first special, but his second special, 8, on HBO, I thought was fantastic! That was and still is one of my favorite specials, and it was directed by Bo Burnham, and you know we love Bo Burnham on this channel. Bo Burnham also directed the next special of Jerrod Carmichael's named Nathaniel, and that's the special where Jerrod Carmichael actually came out as gay. Now, this most recent special is not directed by Bo Burnham, so reflexively, I like it less. I'm just kidding, this special is good, but we're going to get into what I like about this special compared to others and what I like about other specials compared to this one. Now, a little bit about Jerrod Carmichael. He's actually from North Carolina. Bruh! Oh, what's that? Let me just go ahead and drink my cookout shake here. Excuse me, real quick. Now, Jerrod Carmichael grew up closeted, so in his first 2 specials, he doesn't really, dive into sexuality stuff. His first special does get into his insecurities regarding race, regarding class. He gets into some topical news stuff. Nothing too uncharacteristically out of bounds for a comedian to talk about in a comedy special. But what made 8 unique in particular to me was the directing, obviously, because it's Bo Burnham, but also Jerrod Carmichael's stage presence and delivery. You can see a similar stage presence and delivery in comedians like Dave Chappelle or Josh Johnson, where there's an ethos of insightfulness. You don't really rattle off, setup and punchline. It's more of a wise prophet type, a slower delivery that requires a lot of negative space and lets the audience and the performer really chew on the subject matter of what's being said. Josh Johnson is a comedian you guys have talked about a lot in the comments, so if you want to see a video on Josh Johnson, let me know! So yeah, what stands out a lot about Jerrod Carmichael is just how well his specials are produced, but also his performance, delivery, stage presence. It feels really natural, it feels really authentic, and it feels like he's really struggling with these thoughts on stage and trying to rationalize these ideas in real time with you, the audience, participating. Now, Jerrod Carmichael's always, steering the ship of the intellectual conversation. He's the only one with a goddamn microphone. But it almost feels like he's working things out the same way he would work out with a friend or a therapist. So he's like, is this, what do you, I don't know. This is fucked up, right? This is a fucked up thought, right? But again, as far as subject matter goes, at least in 8, there's a limit to how much introspection he really dives in compared to the rest of his work, Nathaniel and Don't Be Gay. Now, Nathaniel, Bo Burnham's follow-up special with Jerrod Carmichael to 8, that's where Jerrod Carmichael comes out as gay, talks about how he was closeted his entire life, and that entire special gets less into the news, less into topical, traditional stand-up material, and instead the subject matter is deeply, deeply introspective. He really allows his personal life, his conflict, his internal struggle. He really lets it all hang out in that special. He talks about how much his dad was cheating on his mom. Relatable! He talks about the pressure to put on a heteronormative and masculine facade. Relatable! Talks about growing up broke. I'm just gonna have a relatable count in the corner. Is that cool? I'm gonna do that a lot. But no, that special really toes the line between traditional stand-up special and hoity-toity, artsy-fartsy performance piece. But he toes the line very, very well, and he gets alley-oop in that regard with the help of Bo Burnham. Before we get on to Don't Be Gay, I want to talk about the direction of Nathaniel and 8 briefly, if I may. Oh god, Jake just wants an excuse to talk about Bo Burnham. Yes, they do! Fucking love Bo Burnham. Now, Bo Burnham actually has a history of directorial work with up-and-coming comedians. Bo Burnham directed Whitmore Thomas's special, which is a special we should talk about. I saw him live on a goof, and I've been a fan ever since. He's great. A musical comedian who was actually a musician first and foremost before he started doing stand-up. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe he was doing stand-up and then became a musician. I don't know. I forget. I'll research it when I do the video. He directed both 8 and Nathaniel. And, oh yeah, who's that? Chris Rock's tambourine. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I think is shown across Bo Burnham's directorial work with stand-ups in particular is the lighting and the cinematography is always striking. The color palettes that are being chosen for the set, the lights, the outfits that, the comedian wears, always very well thought out, very meticulous, professional, well done. Chef's kiss. The camera work often feels intimate, but not in a way that feels unprofessional, if that makes sense. Almost like if A24 did a stand-up special. And I feel like that's perfect for Jerrod Carmichael's style in particular, because Jerrod Carmichael, his performance doesn't go like full net. It almost doesn't even go full Mark Birbiglia as far as, like the hoity-toity, artsy-fartsy, challenge to the form that these guys are doing. Jerrod Carmichael doesn't perform like he's doing a one-man show. Jerrod Carmichael performs like it's a monologue in an A24 movie. And Bo Burnham's behind the camera, baby. But Don't Be Gay is not directed by Bo Burnham. It's directed by some other fuck. Who cares? No, I'm kidding, whoever you are. I don't know. And some of the differences in the directorial styles before we get on to Jerrod Carmichael's actual performance. The color scheme seems a little more muddy, a little less thought out. The background is this beige, orangey tan curtain thing. And that combined with Jerrod's outfit choice, like, yes, technically he pops on screen, but that it almost feels like it's happenstance rather than a well thought out artistic choice. And I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation. And so that's, on the director if I missed that. And the lighting is, he's lit, so. Like 8 and Nathaniel feel like art house films where the direction on this in particular, it almost feels like I'm watching like a school play in an auditorium. Like, this assembly's getting weird. And the camera work kind of adds on to that. I've said before about Bo Burnham's direction, it feels purposeful and professional. It manages to keep the feeling of authenticity without feeling shoddy. Now, Don't Be Gay took some risks as far as the cinematography goes. There's some camera angles where it feels like the camera is placed in the audience and it's handheld and it's a little shaky and human. There's some moments where it's almost purposefully coming in and out of focus. There's one shot in particular I remember where it's like half the shot is taken up by a pillar, and then Jerrod's like almost like in the background and it's like kind of blurry and kind of shaky. And that's where I'm like, is this fucking play about us? Like, it's like, I know they're going for like an authentic, like gritty feeling. I just couldn't help have it feel distracting. A swing and a miss, if you will. But that's enough about the direction. Let's talk about Jerrod's performance. If the directing styles from 8 carried over to Nathaniel, I think the performance Jerrod gives carries over from Nathaniel to Don't Be Gay. The performance is deeply vulnerable, deeply introspective. He talks about being closeted his entire life and opens up about some of his internalized homophobia. He talks about constantly cheating on his partner, which is insane. Jerrod isn't really afraid of coming off looking like the bad guy, same way I felt watching John Mulaney's Baby J, where he's talking about his drug abuse. John Mulaney said, in some of these stories, I'm gonna come across deeply unlikable. And the same thing happens in Jerrod's special. Jerrod even made a point that, like, talking about it on stage almost feels like a way for him to kind of sort these feelings out. And maybe if I am open and honest about it, then some healing can come from it, whether it's from him or for somebody going through something similar. The idea that, like, yeah, I did a bad thing, but maybe a step in the right direction would be openly talking about it in my performance. And let's go ahead and add one to the relatable counter. That's something that I've always loved in stand-up, kind of talking about your faults and talking about mistakes you made in stories where you don't come across likable at all, in the hopes that some artistic catharsis can come out of it. I mean, we see this in music all the time, but it's a trend I hope to see in stand-up more so long as the audience understands that these are not good things to do. You know, you don't want to pull an Andrew Dice Clay or all of Austin by just being a piece of shit, and you're like, isn't that funny? And it's like, no, that's not funny. You, the narrator, and the audience should have an understanding that that's a bad thing to do. We can talk about morally gray things without glorifying morally gray things. And I think that's something that Jerrod Carmichael fucking nails. There's also a part in the first third of this for like 10 or 15 minutes where Jerrod gets very descriptive about all the gay sex he's having. And that's really awkward when you're watching the special with your mom. Like, there was a moment where even if I wasn't watching with Angela, like, it feels uncomfortable. Like, the audience is like, ooh, Jesus. Which, I don't have a problem with that subject matter, obviously. But something that Jerrod does sometimes is there's not a lot of like set up punchline stuff. You know, he's not like the traditional joke bot. You know, he's not your Mark Norman. He's not your Norm Macdonald. He is more akin to a Birbiglia or a Hannah Gadsby. And the comedy kind of comes from his earnest thoughts and earnest feelings. And there is a vibe that he's just kind of thinking in real time. In fact, that's one thing I want to talk about. I don't know where the line is when I watch a Jerrod Carmichael special where it's planned out and meticulous and he's got like a set list and he knows what he's going to talk about. And there's parts where it feels like he is genuinely, like, in real time figuring out exactly how to word something. He's like, what am I gonna say next? There's moments where he like takes the microphone and he's just thinking. He's like, and like you can see like the pondering, like, in the performance. And I don't know how much of that is built in and how much of that is genuine, but regardless, it is fascinating to watch. You know, moments like that really add to the negative space and the building of tension. His relationship with money, his relationship with fame, his relationship to his audience. Again, very similar to the way that John Mulaney does in Baby J, in a way that feels honest yet unrelatable and at times deeply unlikable. In Nathaniel, he talked about, you know, the expectation to be, you know, heteronormative and masculine while on the inside being, you know, closeted and gay. And when he finally comes out, he starts dating white boys, and it's like, fuck, you know? In that way, he feels like he's letting the black community down by dating white men. And even a member of the audience is like, But in Don't Be Gay, he goes a little deeper into that subject matter. He talks a lot about how coming out for him, you know, got a lot of backlash online. You know, he talked about being famous and the online harassment he was getting, the death threats he was getting. You know, he talked a lot about the way social media and being in the public eye, you know, did a number to his mental health. Now, the themes of Nathaniel and Don't Be Gay are very, very, very similar. But in Nathaniel, it feels very raw. You know, this is the first time he's really dove into these things. And you can tell there's a level of uncomfortability while he's doing it, which adds to the feeling of authenticity and vulnerability. But there's a genuine newness, and with that newness comes this raw, uncomfortable feeling. Now, in Don't Be Gay, he is a lot more comfortable with the subject matter. He's kind of put this new suit on and has really, you know, worn it in a little bit. And because of that, it feels like Jerrod's a lot more in control of the performance and a lot more in command of the audience. And something Jerrod does, especially in Nathaniel and Don't Be Gay, is he sets up something thematically, whether it's a joke or a callback or a punchline, that he then later pays off at the end. You can see this in both of these specials. And that feels just like a really professional way to put a button end on the special. You know, kind of giving the audience some payoff that you set up top. And that shows you that Jerrod's not up there just winging it. You know, like there is a plan somewhere. There's a certain percentage of a plan. And it's almost like he knows that I gotta get to here some point. And maybe there's some places I know I want to get to, but he's really finding his way along with us together. Or maybe I'm wrong and he's an actor and a liar. I you know, if he is, then he's crushing it. Now, if I could rank all three of these Jerrod Carmichael specials, I still think, unfortunately, 8 is my favorite. During Pride, I know, boo. But the reason I say that is because it does feel the most professionally put together, both in the performance and also the production. Actually, no, that's not true. The production on Nathaniel is a 10 out of 10. Bo Burnham put his whole Bo Bussy into the directing on Nathaniel. I've never seen a stand-up special where during it you can see out the window of the venue and it's snowing. Sick. You know what? Yeah, let's do it this way. Let's really break down these 3 specials. Nathaniel up top, 8 in the middle, and then the production on Don't Be Gay is, all right, it's fine. Now the subject matter, I would kind of put Nathaniel and Don't Be Gay at a tie for like tippy top in that regard. I want to say Don't Be Gay is a little better because it dives deeper into things set up in Nathaniel, but Nathaniel had that raw, deep, authentic, like this was huge, him coming out on this special. But that also makes the performance in Nathaniel a little more messy, you know, and that could be good, that could be bad. But Nathaniel, the performance is a lot more confident. The performance is a lot more honed in. 8, the subject matter of 8, you know, is just classic, but doesn't really break a lot of the boundaries. It's really, really good. The subject matter is great, don't get me wrong. But out of the 3, it is the most traditional stand-up special. So I think I'd give 8 a 9, I'd give Nathaniel an 8, and I'd give Don't Be Gay a 7. Now that does make it seem like these Jerrod Carmichael specials are steadily declining, but I actually don't believe that's true. I genuinely think that each special has things that are done well or better in comparison to other specials, and it's, you know, a mixed bag. You know, and some of them, the jokes are more tight, and some of them, the production is better, and some of them, the subject matter is deeper and more artistically introspective. It really just depends on you. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Don't Be Gay is good? Do you guys think Don't Be Gay is not that good? Do you guys like Nathaniel or 8? Is Bo Burnham a good comedy director? What do you guys want to see? Let me know in the comments down below. And if there's any other stand-up style videos you want to see, just let me know. Some things I want to talk about. I've been seeing a lot of AI sitcoms. I might talk about some of that now that Google whatever the fuck that is. I might do a little video in the future about how much I hate when I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see like Subway Surfers on the bottom or like some ASMR bullshit on the side of the, or like the bong, like the little ball that goes bing, 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 bing around the thing, just to make sure you're still watching a stand-up special. Does anybody else know what I'm talking about? And also, happy Pride. This administration in particular, things aren't looking great. But no matter what your identity, sexual orientation, gender identifier, you are real, you are seen, you are valid. It's okay to be exactly who you are and what you want to be, and don't let nobody tell you shit. Remember to like and subscribe, all that jazz, and I appreciate you.